Hello and welcome to the Let It Ride podcast, coming at you to preview the divisional round of the NFL playoffs. As always, I'm your host, Jeffrey Hooks, coming at you after a wild card weekend. Four incredible games last weekend. I know we had six games total. Four of them were actually incredible. The Panthers and the Rams, the Bears and the Packers, the 49ers and the Eagles, and of course the Bills and Jaguars, all delivering great theater for us. And then we had the Steelers and Texans and the Pats and Chargers just kind of not delivering with the nightcap games. But I will say both of those games were actually pretty close going into the fourth quarter. So it's not like any game was a complete blowout the whole way through. So overall, a great weekend of games. Wish my picks could have done a little bit better. Really feel like they should have done a lot better. We go 3-3. Tired of going 500 on this podcast. It's almost like picking these games, it's like a coin flip or something, and we're just wasting our time handicapping all these games. I don't know. 500 yet again, but really got some bad beats. Two of them that I'm upset with, just because I felt like we had the right side and it didn't turn out. And then one pick that I just got too cute with. I love the Texans all week. Got too cute, ended up taking the over. Actually, almost ended up hitting for us. Almost get lucky with the Texans scoring all those defensive touchdowns at the end of the game. But that was a loser. Gave out the Rams first half -5.5, coupled with the money line on them to win the game, and looked like we had that in the bag after the Panthers fumble a punt down by 10. The Rams come away with 0 points. The Panthers end up scoring a touchdown. We then end up getting a chance to kick a field goal or score a touchdown right before halftime to backdoor cover the other way. Puka Nacua drops a pass. The Rams can't get in field goal range, and that was all she wrote for the Rams -5.5 in the first half. I feel like that was a bad beat. And of course, we had the Packers -1. They're up 18 in that game, end up blowing the lead, but did give out three winners. Had the Bills -1, had the Eagles 49ers under, also had the Chargers Patriots under. That one cashes with ease. So another 3-3 week. Could have been a 5-1 week. Could have been a 6-0 week if I had just gotten a little bit more lucky and stuck to my guns with the Texans instead of switching to the over. But I digress. We move forward, diving in to the picks for the divisional round, starting with the Bills taking on the Broncos. The Broncos, a 1.5-point favorite at home. The over-under sitting at 46. These two met in the wild card round last year. It was a 31-7 Bills victory. Obviously, these two teams much different this year than they were last year. This Denver defense is all the rage. They're second in yards per game, third in points per game allowed, first in red zone as far as touchdowns allowed once opponents enter the red zone. They allow the lowest percentage of red zone touchdowns in the NFL, the lowest yards per pass attempt in the league, the third lowest yards per carry in the league. So this is a very good defense. And on the other side, the Bills defense is really being talked about like it's the weak link in this game. And yes, the run defense is really bad. They give up 5.2 yards per carry. That is the second most in the NFL. But overall, they give up just the eighth fewest yards per game in the league, the 12th fewest points per game, the fourth fewest yards per pass attempt. So they do limit the pass very well. They keep teams off the scoreboard. Kind of a bend, don't break defense. They do give up big plays in the passing game, though. That's why you've seen teams like the Dolphins with Devon Achane, like this team up, like Travion Henderson. You've seen these fast outside running teams really work over this Bills defense. This Broncos offense is not that. RJ Harvey, a rookie that I was really high on coming out of the draft. I had a bet on him to be the offensive rookie of the year. Now he scored a bunch of touchdowns, had a decent season, but he's not been what the Broncos expected him to be. He's averaging just 3.7 yards per carry this year, so he is not the explosive running back, the type of explosive back that has given the Bills absolute fits this year. So I think this Bills defense is going to be able to stand up to a Broncos offense, which is not all that high power. Now, the other side of this Broncos defense, I laid out the numbers. You're thinking, oh man, this is a great defense, and they play better at home. You can't go into Denver. That defense is too good. They allow just 17.7 points per game at home. But then you look at who they've played at home. So they've played a couple of backup quarterbacks. They played Trey Lance at the end of the year with the Chargers, sitting all of their starters. They played Jake Browning when they played the Bengals, and they played Geno Smith. So if you just take away those three games, that 17.7 points per game at home goes to 24.5 points per game at home. So they can be got at home. This is not some unbeatable defense. I mean, they've given up 33 points to the Giants. They gave up 24 to the Cowboys. This is a team that has given up high point totals this season. And if you look at the offense, the only defenses they've really been able to get after our bad defenses. They scored 27 points on the Commanders. They scored 44 on the Cowboys, 33 on the Giants. 25 of those came in the fourth quarter. They scored 28 on the Bengals. They scored 24 on the Raiders. They scored 28 against the Colts in a game that they got outgained. So, and then they scored 34 against the Packers. And the other 10 games of the year, they scored under 24 points. So they really lit up a couple of bad defenses. I know the Packers are a good defense, but remember that was the game that Micah Parsons did get hurt in. So they really haven't beaten up on a good defense. I think this defense is a little bit overrated, and I think the offense is a little bit overrated too. This team is not as good as their record showed. Like I said, they're giving up that 17.7 points per game at home, but that's mostly against really bad opponents and a couple of backup quarterbacks sprinkled in there. This defense can be got. I think they're a little bit of fool's gold. I came into this handicapping this game really thinking I was going to like the under. I came out liking the Bills, so we're going to take the Bills plus 1.5 here. And just to keep it at 5 picks for the week, I don't want another 500 week. I need some kind of tiebreaker. We will stick with the under as well. So we're going to take the under 46 and the Bills plus 1.5, 2 picks from this first game. That is going to move us on to the 49ers taking on the Seahawks. The Seahawks, a 7.5 point favorite at home. The over-under sitting at 45. Over-under sitting at 45. These two teams played twice and combined for 46 points in those two games. If you listen to my Week 18 podcast, I absolutely loved the under. It was sitting at 48.5. Now you might sit here and say, "Oh, well, this line's moved 2.5 points." That's a sign that you should take the over. That it was an overreaction to the first matchup. I don't think it was an overreaction to the first matchup. I think the first matchup just had the point total set way too high. This is right around where I think this point total should be set at 45. And I still don't trust Sam Darnold. If you look what's going on with San Francisco too. So Seattle's offense fell off a cliff to me at the end of the year. They got kind of lucky in that game against the Rams, got a punt return, turned it on for a few minutes against them. Outside of that, that offense did not look the same at the end of the year. It kind of felt like teams figured out that if you can slow down JSN, you can slow down this offense. I still don't trust Sam Darnold. And on the other side, San Francisco just facing a brutal travel schedule. They had to play in Philadelphia on Sunday. Now they have to travel back across the country to Seattle and play on Saturday, just 6 days rest, facing a team that's coming off of a bye, just a huge rest disadvantage for the 49ers. You've got no George Kittle in this one. And like I said, when we handicapped their game against Philadelphia, this is a 49ers offense that cannot operate if they cannot establish the run. This is a Seattle defense that is very good. I do not think they are fool's gold like the Denver Broncos. This is a legitimately good Seattle defense. Its defensive front shuts down everybody. You cannot run the ball on them. So I'm taking the under again, going right back to the same well that's cashed for us twice in this matchup this year, taking the under 45 for 49ers Seahawks. That point spread just sitting a little bit too high for me for division rivals, this being the third time that they've played this year. Not going to lay the 7.5 with Seattle. Certainly can't trust the banged up 49ers team either. So going to go with what I've seen when these two teams match up. Going to take the under 45. And it has to be said about this 49ers defense too. They did step it up against Philadelphia last week. So a lot of no-name guys with this injured defense, but just because you don't know who they are doesn't mean they're not out there trying hard and playing hard. And I think we're going to get something out of this 49ers defense. So again, under 45 for 49ers Seahawks. That is going to take us on to the Texans taking on the Patriots. The Patriots, a 3-point favorite at home. The over-under sitting at 41. This is a battle of two top 4 point per game defenses. Both teams were absolutely dominant in the wild card round against admittedly flawed teams. But like I said in the open, you could zoom out a little bit. The Patriots were just up 9-3 in the fourth quarter. The Chargers down 6 with the ball in the fourth quarter of that game. That Texans Steelers game was 7-6 for like 2 hours before the Texans defense finally busted that game open. But both of these teams, yes, the final score looks like, oh yeah, they dominated, but both of those games were still in flux in the fourth quarter. No Nico Collins, most likely for the Houston Texans. That's going to be huge. He's a big part of that offense. But Christian Kirk did step up in his absence in the last game, so they should be able to still get some number one wide receiver production from Christian Kirk, and they're going to be counting on their two rookies out of Iowa State, Higgins and Hutchinson, to step up without Nico Collins. For the Texans, they have a great pass rush and a bad offensive line. So they're going to be giving up a lot of sacks, and they're going to be sacking the opposing quarterback a lot. For the Chargers and Patriots matchup that we just saw, it was the same thing. The Chargers had a great pass rush and a bad offensive line. And what did we saw? What did we see? We saw a low-scoring rock fight game with 11 sacks, 6 sacks of Justin Herbert, 5 sacks of Drake May. I think both of these quarterbacks are going to be seeing a lot of pressure, and I think both of these teams really know that the winner of this game is going to be whoever wins the turnover battle. So I think you're going to see both teams acutely aware, not wanting to turn the ball over. The Texans turned the ball over left and right last week. They really should have blown the Steelers out. They had over 400 yards of offense in that game and still laid into it, only had 7 points. It's because CJ Stroud just kept turning the ball over. So I think they're going to put an emphasis on that, not wanting to lose the turnover battle. If you look at the Patriots, all three of the games they've lost this year, they lost the turnover battle, particularly that game against the Pittsburgh Steelers where they had 4 fumbles. They know if they hold on to the ball, they should win the game. But I think that's going to make these offenses a little bit more conservative. They're going to be facing heavy pass rushes on both sides. I think both offenses try to play it conservatively, let their defense win the game, play a field position battle. I'm going to take the under 41 in this game, and that is going to move us on to the Rams taking on the Bears. The Bears, a 3.5 point underdog at home. The over-under sitting at 48.5. And you might be sitting here thinking you've given out 3 unders in the 3 games. When are we going to get to some fun? Are we just going to have a bunch of rock fights? Are we going to get a shootout this weekend? Yes, we are, and it's going to come in this Rams-Bears game. The over-under sitting at 48.5. The Rams, first in the league in points per game, second in yards per game. On the other side, the Bears, ninth in the league, points per game, sixth in yards, uh, 12th 12th passing offense, third rushing offense. The Rams, second passing offense, seventh ranked rushing offense. So two very high powered offense. This Bears defense relies on turnovers, does not create a ton of pressure. And what happens when you give Matthew Stafford time? He is going to absolutely pick you apart. But on the other side, this Rams defense played very well at the beginning of the year, has not played well down the stretch. In their last 5 games, they've given up 30 points per game, 6.8 yards per carry against the Seahawks, 6.6 yards per carry against the Falcons, two rushing offenses that rank pretty evenly with the Bears. So I expect the Bears to be able to move the ball on the ground. I think Matthew Stafford, like I said, is going to have all day against this very weak Bears pass rush. He's going to have all day to sit back and pick apart this Bears defense. I think this game is going to be an absolute shootout. Give me the over 48.5. The Rams have the 7th ranked red zone offense in the NFL. The Bears have the 19th ranked red zone defense. So I'm expecting to see the Rams move the ball up and down the field, get to the red zone, and punch in touchdowns. Ask me to pick a winner for the game. I will take the Rams, but I think this is going to be a shootout. So over 48.5. And just to recap all of my picks, I am taking the Bills plus 1.5 against the Broncos, also taking the under 46 in that game, taking the 49ers Seahawks under 45. If I'm going to pick a winner in that game, I'm going to take the Seahawks. I'm taking the Texans Patriots under 41. Twist my arm, ask me to pick a winner. I'll take the Patriots. Finally, taking the over 48.5, and I'll take the Rams to win that game. That is going to do it for my picks and the podcast. Thank you to everybody for listening, and I will see you guys next week.